Hello, everyone. This is Susan Gerbic from Psychics Explained, the channel where we break down readings into great detail, so much so that I can't imagine anybody but myself watching these videos. I think it's important that people bear witness to what is actually going on in these private readings. Most people think of mediumship and they think of mediumship like Tyler Henry, John Edward, Teresa Caputo, those people that are on TV where a lot of them are heavily edited. What I have been discovering the last year or so is that is not the norm. The reading you're going to see today is more typical. These are usually small group readings, and nowadays they're done a lot over Zoom. Usually the medium is someone who is reading other women. A lot of the times the medium is a woman, and a lot of the times these mediums have very little skill. I shouldn't say that. They have a lot of skill in doing their readings. They've done thousands of these, but these are not professionals of course they're taking money, but they're not professionals on the level of like a Tyler Henry or Matt Fraser or anything like that. Though they're no better. There's there's really not much more going on. A lot of the people online on TV you see are hot reading or they're heavily edited cold reading. This medium that you're going to see is her name is Lady Phyllis, and I have already gone through her videos once a little over a year ago with a team of people, Kenny Biddle, Janice Boyton, a couple other people, and a private group. And so we've already watched these, but it's been over a year. I call this Operation Dill Pickle, and I need to get these videos released because as I release them, I'm able to take a lot of notes. And when you see a lot of videos of this from the same medium in a row, you really sense the pattern of what their style is. And I want to be able to write this up for Skeptical Inquirer. And in order to do so, I got to get through all these readings. And as I get through the readings, I'm making videos and I'm putting the videos up on my channel. So you can go to Psychics Explained and you can see on YouTube, and you can see I have a playlist devoted to Operation Dill Pickle, Lady Phyllis Medium. And you can see all these different breakdowns. I think I have 6 videos up already, including one by a skeptic friend of mine named Cindy, who was a plant. We were trying to see if Lady Phyllis was hot reading. So we went in with the intention of trying to catch her in a hot read. Why did I think she might be hot reading? Because she's a student of Thomas John, who is the king of hot reads. So every student that I have looked at that Thomas John has worked with, he's never taught them the hot reading stuff. I personally don't think that these mediums ethically could do that. I believe that the people who are his students truly think that they have some sort of psychic powers, whether they have to fudge it a little bit or not. They think they got this gift. And so they think they're helping people. A lot of the mediums that I have been investigating lately that are these mostly unknown psychic mediums, they themselves are partly have bought into it almost as if they're being grifted also. The pressure to attend um, workshops, to attend seminars, to read the books, to pay the money for getting further training is very intense, and they often guilt newer mediums into doing this kind of thing. And there's no and Lady Phyllis is no exception to that. She is giving mediumship classes for a price, and she is holding gallery readings and so on, trying to bring other people to be able to do what she's doing. She herself has written over 50 books, I believe, on spiritualism. And then when when her husband died, she got into mediumship, and she has convinced herself that she is a gifted reader, medium. Probably because she was taking classes from Thomas John, who talked her into it. Okay, so that's enough of that. One of the videos you will see on my playlist on YouTube, Psychics Explained, is that Lady Phyllis actually gives me a reading when I'm in a different persona. And I think it's hilarious. So you can find that video as well as the one where Cindy is the plant. And that is obviously another hilarious video because it's obvious what she's doing. What I'm doing now is I'm looking at the different readings given to other women that were had paid to be in this gallery reading. Some of the readings are 3 or 4 minutes long. Some of them are her students. She's already admitted that. I'm not showing you that part where she admits it, but these are her students. Some are strangers to her. And yes, you can hot read whenever you've done previous readings for somebody or you know someone. That's considered a hot reading. Even if you're not intending to hot read them. Once you know somebody, it's not that hard to steer yourself in a certain direction to find out if to aim in a certain way, and then actually all that is a hot reading, but cold reading thrown in on this. So what you're going to see is you're going to see Lady Phyllis read a woman. Her name is Dawn, Dawn. This is the longest reading that I've got on this so far. I've come across. It's 19 minutes, 28 seconds. I'm not going to show it to you in one chunk. It's going to take me a very long time to get through this because I stop and start and I tend to notice a lot of things. And if I get comments from people who say they see something also, I'm going to bring those up. So it's very hard for me to do these quickly because the whole idea of this channel, Psychics Explained, is to get into the weeds and see the detail of what is going on. And as I say, the more you watch this kind of stuff, the more you learn and you realize what is really happening. A lot of wordplay, a lot of generalities, and so on. I'm sorry, I've got a cough drop on my mouth. I hope it isn't distracting to you because I keep getting a cough and I'm talking so much that I don't have a coughing fit. All right. I have blurred the sitter, Dawn, and Phyllis, you'll be able to see. You should have no problem hearing the audio. And I've only blurred like the face, so you'll be able to see the outside edge. The Dawn has maps up on the wall, and she was a little blurry anyway, so her video isn't very clear, but I just blurred her face just a little bit, just I don't know, for privacy. I don't know why it matters. They gave me this video. This video you're going to be watching is one they gave me. I mean, it was totally unblurred, and it contains 2 hours worth of reading of like 10, 15 different women. As I said, it's a little over a year old. I think it was done last Christmas, Christmas 23. And I just got to get this done. I've been sitting on this way too long. Okay. So if you want to go along with me, follow along, paper, pen or pencil, you're going to need it because it comes at you quick. All right. I get into the details. If that drives you nuts, sorry. That's just the point of my website. And I haven't watched this for over a year. So let's see what we got. I think that's all I got to tell you. Okay, here's the medium, Lady Phyllis. Keep in mind that the person who's the sitter is what I call a motivated sitter. This is a person who is paid money, who has waited, has been anticipating getting a reading. The motivated sitter is also someone who believes. Otherwise, why would they be here? Almost always they're female. And so they're used to, you will see that the sitter is going to probably give a lot more information than the sitter would probably have said. What you're looking for in this are two things. What is missing that should be there if she's really communicating with the dead? And number two, the thing we hear all the time, when the sitter tries to say, oh no, I got this reading from the psychic and they're amazing. They told me things there's no way anybody else could know. I hear that always. And when I ask to see their video or to ask to listen to the reading, they either don't have a copy of it or they're not going to release it to me because it's private. So those are the two things you're looking for. Oh, three things actually. Is what Lady Phyllis doing ethical? Is it helping these people get through the grief process? Is there harm? Is she giving financial advice and that kind of thing? So look for those things. All right, let's get started.
Hi, owner. What's your name?
My name is Dawn.
Hi, Dawn. How are you? Hold on. I'm going to take a good look at you, Dawn. Okay. So Dawn, I don't know if you were on, you heard that when I see a spirit come in behind you, it's the older generation next to you. You heard that, right? So I'm going to start behind you and I'm going to ask you, is your mom passed?
No.
Is your grandmother passed?
Yes.
And before I go on there, do you have a mother-in-law?
Yes.
Is your mother-in-law passed?
Yes.
It's your mother-in-law. It's not your grandmother because it was definitely of that generation. Are you with her son? Are you together?
No, my husband died.
Your husband died. Okay, so she came in first, and I think she wanted to come in first to let you know I got it covered. You know, in other words, she's with your husband. So he was next to you. I wasn't sure if it was a brother or a husband. So I'm going to go to him next. Is there a G name associated with him? George, Gary, Gareth, living or dead? Is there a G name around him?
Not that I know of.
Or a J? Because sometimes G's and J's sound alike. John,
His
Jerry.
My mother-in-law's name is Joanne.
There we go. Okay, so Joanne is here,
Yes.
and then your husband is here.
Yes.
And was this a recent passing?
Yes, both of them were.
Um, who passes in a car accident?
Um, Neither one of them.
But did somebody pass in a car accident? I know you want to hear from them. It may belong to somebody else, but I am getting a car accident.
No.
Okay. I want to go to your mother-in-law first. She's telling she was ill,
Um, Sort of, yes.
and
She had a heart condition.
she had a heart condition. She's showing
Yeah.
me her legs were swollen, so congestive heart failure. So
Yeah.
yeah, what she's actually wearing is support stockings. What the other woman said, I see those supports. They show me an image, and from that image, you got to figure out what it is. So she's showing me stockings with the seam up the rear, you know, like they used to wear in the 40s. And she, when she walks, she's wearing these shoes that go,
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, yes.
yeah. Um,
Yes.
and she says, I know she doesn't want to speak with, but I'm going to be here because she loved you like a daughter. You were together with her son when he passed, correct? This
Yes. Oh,
was
very much
before
so.
marriage, right? And
Yes.
you knew her, correct?
Yes.
Did you take care of her?
No, not really. We would go back every year and I would help her around the house.
Because she does say you helped, and she's
Yeah.
thanking you for being a good daughter-in-law. But I think what she's talking about is also that you took care of her son.
Yes.
Now, did he get sick?
Yes.
And it was a very quick sickness, right? It like what he's showing me, there's an expression, it's an old expression that illness swoops in. I don't know the exact thing, but it just kind of swoops in like a raven's wing and just kind of knocked the feet out from under him. And
Yeah.
was it cancer? It was cancer. It
It
wasn't
was,
cancer. Don't I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
it was,
It was, so his lungs were affected. He's not affecting me in my lungs. And usually when their lungs, did he have a comorbidity? Did he have some?
oh, not at all. Not at all. He was as healthy as a horse. And
Usually when they do, I get a tickle in my throat. And I'm not getting that. I'm not saying that he didn't pass from, but it was very quick. In
yeah,
the in the it was like very quick, right? They
yes,
intubated him
yes,
and he was out of it. Like,
yes.
I want to say he's telling me something was going on in the brain.
Really? Okay.
And I'm getting that. I have to tell you, I get this a lot with that. I hear that they died of, but what I feel is my brain. Like, in other words, like a malfunction in the brain, or that maybe the mixture of, I'm not diagnosing here, but I will say that this has happened a few times with that they don't necessarily die of, but something related, something is instigated, maybe a blood vessel burst or whatever, or maybe the mixture, the toxicity of the medicines. For instance, my husband died of lung cancer, but the medicines made him worse. Do you understand? He had to be on it, but it complicated things. The radiation destroyed the network of veins in his chest, and he ended up having congestive, like it was just a mess. So not necessarily lung cancer, but the related things. And your husband is, because he is definitely not hitting me in the lungs.
Okay.
And I think he wants you to know that there were complications you wouldn't have known about. You understand that it wasn't, he wants you to understand it wasn't just that there were things that you didn't know about, that he didn't know about, that maybe were underlying issues. Do you understand?
Okay. Yes.
And you're angry about it.
Well, I dropped him off at the hospital and then I just never saw him again for 25 days. They
Yeah,
wouldn't let me up to see him. They wouldn't let our son up to see him when he died. I had another psychic tell me that he wanted a forensic investigation into his death.
that's really interesting because he's telling me, I
Yeah.
mean, it's no coincidence that I am getting this very strong feeling about the brain. And I will tell you, my daughter-in-law's mother didn't die of, very healthy, but all of a sudden had a brain hemorrhage out of nowhere. And I hear, like, you just hear of things. I'm not an anti anything. It's just, it makes you wonder, what do we really know about anything? What
Yeah.
do we know about anything? And I believe in vaccines. I believe in everything, but it just, there's your husband's quoting Shakespeare. I'm not saying that he did that before, but he's saying there's more things between heaven and earth, Horatio, than man understands. You understand?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that makes sense to you. So he says there's more to this picture than meets the eye.
Oh,
And had you been there, which he doesn't want you to carry around with you. But had you been there, you would have been his advocate, and maybe you understand what I'm saying.
I had no say in anything. I had no say in anything. They, like I said, they kept him away from us, and I had no say in anything.
He says you can't blame them. They didn't know what they were doing. Nobody knew anything. Um, I mean, when you think back to, we were washing bananas before we ate them because we were afraid that they was coming into the house on a banana, or groceries. We were washing the lettuce before we ate it because we didn't know. And I don't know what part of uh, passed in. I kind of feel it was more towards the beginning, like between 21 and 22 is what I'm feeling, the time frame. And I feel like they just didn't know enough about it. um, this thing came out of, like I said, he said it swooped in out
Yeah.
of nowhere. Was he vaccinated?
No, no. We had a neighbor boy who was 17 that,
Yeah, he says don't beat yourself up about it because I don't know that it would have been this way or that way. Do you understand?
yes.
He says it's just, believe it or not, we do pick our lives here. We do pick who we're going to be with. We pick our parents. We pick everything. And he wouldn't change any of his choices, not one. And he wants you to understand that. And he'd like his son to understand that. This is a grown son, right? This is not a child.
No, he's a child.
He's a child?
Yes. He's a teenager.
a teenager, but he's like, he shows me like he's understand. He's not like a toddler.
No, he's 14.
He's 14, so he's like a young man, and
Yes.
he wants his son to understand. And he doesn't. He keeps saying, "Don't be angry. Don't be angry. Don't be angry." So I don't know if it's you're that angry or your son's angry, but he wants you not to be angry. Um, he wants you to know that he's around. He sees. Now, do you have a lamp that flickers in the house?
No, I
All right. Let's stop right here. I let it go way too long. That was 9 minutes, 45 seconds. And there's a lot going on here. Okay, this is over a year old. This was December of 2023 that we recorded this. So it was very much on our minds at the time. There was a lot of death in during those 2 years. We've already forgotten. I mean, there's still death from, but at the time it was very frightening. And it left a lot of people in this position that this woman, Dawn, is going through. You take your loved one to the hospital, and that's the last you see of them. Maybe you get a video with a video call with them, and that's usually not even likely because we couldn't get into the hospital. The hospitals were full of sick people, and there was just too much going on. So I think that there's a lot more mediums, a lot more grief going on. Like it was like a war, right? Where after a war, mediumship becomes a big deal again because people want to have they didn't get to have messages with their loved one before they died. So I think we're seeing an uptick in the amount of different mediums doing readings, a lot of grief out there. But beyond that, a lot of these widows were unable to have funerals, traditional funerals. They might have been able to use Zoom, maybe. They really weren't able to say goodbye. They couldn't gather in large groups. And so all that grieving process that we have been used to doing, where you can meet with people and commiserate with them and hug on them and cry on them, that hasn't been able to be done, wasn't really able to be done in 2021, 2022, and to some extent, maybe even 2023. So it was a very hard time. So I understand. Now, what you might be noticing, and I'm not going to go through everything because it'll take this much longer to go through, but on a lot of the videos I have already done for this playlist of Lady Phyllis and Operation Dill Pickle, you'll see the same statement. She does the same kind of verbiage. She uses the same lexicon, all of that is pretty much the same. And I'm not going to bring it up each time because, please go back and look at some of these older videos and you will see what's going on. I'm not going to say everything at the same time, but she's got this thing where she can't decide if she's seeing people or not, but she never describes them very well. It's always vague. But in her way she does mediumship, if she sees somebody behind you, then they're a generation older than you. If she sees somebody beside you, then it's your sister, brother, cousin, husband, somebody that's on the same age as you, a contemporary. And if she sees somebody in front of you, then that's a younger generation. And she says this that she sees, but yet she never really gets into it and describes it well. I think there's another point in here I just wrote down. I don't know what you guys got in your notes, but she saw, where was it here? Well, and she also hears, she heard her mother-in-law's shoes making this a sound, and she saw support stockings with a line going up at the back like something from the 1940s. And so that's all very odd that she can see, but yet she can't tell us really anything. Like, what did the man really look like? What is his name? She throws out a lot of common tropes of names. Like she starts out with George Garrett. Well, some name that's like a George name. And then she goes into John, and then the sitter, the motivated sitter says, "Oh, Joanne, that's my mother-in-law." So it went from George to finally settling on Joanne only because the sitter threw that out. Otherwise, we might have gone through a lot more names before somebody finally hit on it. And you notice too what Lady Phyllis did, she says, I'm immediately getting somebody behind you. Is your mom alive? No. My mom is still alive. Is your grandmother dead? Well, you can't really see this woman's face very well, but she's probably 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So her grandmother would have been probably in her 90s. So good, pretty obvious there. Are you married? Yes. Could this be your mother-in-law? Yes. Your husband has died. And for a medium, she's making a lot of guesses. And it's pretty sad because, I mean, you can't tell if a person's husband's dead, you have to ask. You can't tell if your father's dead, you have to ask. You have to, I mean, it's a lot of asking. And you'll notice that the sitter also gives a lot of information. She gave up that her husband had died, and she also gave up that her husband and her mother-in-law died recently. Recently could mean a lot of things to people. Another miss that was a huge miss. Lady Phyllis said, "Who died in a car accident?" Nobody. She's like, nobody. But sometimes the psychics will throw that out in the hopes that they'll get something, they'll get a hit. And remember, from the perspective of Dawn, the sitter, she is going to be calling her family up and telling her teenage son, I had a reading with the psychic today, and oh my gosh, she told me things there's no way anybody could have known. She knew, she was immediately in contact with my mother-in-law, your grandmother, Joanne, and she knew she died of, oh, well, she knew that dad, her husband, had died of, she knew, get it? She's going to forget the car accident. She's going to forget everything else. She's going to say that something as specific as shoes that squeak was something that nobody could have known. But how rare is it that somebody who has had shoes that squeak? Did you take care of her? Well, not really. I did go over and take care of her house a little bit and cleaned. Well, did you take care of your son? Well, yeah, sort of. And so Lady Phyllis said it was cancer. And then the motivated sitter says, no, it was. And then when it's narrowing it down to a window of time that it couldn't have been probably 2018 or 2017. We're talking 2020, probably 2021, 2022. The majority of the deaths were at the very beginning. What was it, 2020, before we had any vaccinations? I think that's the height of the deaths. And maybe just a little bit into the next year. It's all blur to me. But so when she said it was early on, she's playing the odds. It's more likely to have been early on in the pandemic, whenever really we knew nothing that was going on. And Lady Phyllis, it's very interesting that whenever there's a death, she gets a tickle in her throat. I don't know why we need pathologists or anything like that. If we could just have a medium tell us what it is they died of, considering that she said first it was cancer. Not very good, Lady Phyllis. She said, did they intubate him? Yes. Now, I'm not going to be showing you the video reading that I got from Lady Phyllis later on in this session. I'm not showing you it because it's already on my YouTube channel and you can watch it. And in that situation, I played a person who had a husband who had died also. And she tried this line on me about it tickling or whatever. And that, are you sure? Because I think it was something else. And this seems to be a standard of hers. Several things you might have caught. Were Lady Phyllis is very adamant. I am not anti-vaccine, but I am saying that your husband probably died of something other than because something in the brain, something else, that the medicine killed him and things. I mean, do we really need mediums to be making people more frightened of medications? Do you think people are more likely to want to go get their cancer treatment? when they hear their mediums talking about, oh yeah, well, it's very toxic and radiation and this, and it's gonna, I mean, that's gonna really make you miserable. Well, though she did give the disclaimer, she said, but he did need to take that radiation. He did need to do that. Still, you don't go telling people that once you have cancer or once you have this illness, whatever you take is going to make you miserable. Those kinds of things, it's, and then you're going to go into the hospital and they're not going to let you make decisions, and it's going to be horrible for the person. And um, you can't advocate for them. So I don't think we need to have that kind of information. I think that's unethical. I don't think a medium needs to be doing that. This motivated sitter, she said a couple very interesting things. Number one, her husband was not vaccinated. They chose not to get vaccinated because a 17-year-old neighbor boy died of vaccine. Really? That's interesting. How do you know that? Well, that sounds pretty interesting. So she chose not to get vaccinated, and her husband didn't get vaccinated. And well, we're here now. She's talking to a medium and she has a 14-year-old son at the time. So that's pretty sad. The 14-year-old is probably not going to get vaccinated because he's probably believes that his dad was something else killed him. It wasn't it. It was something else that killed him, and that they didn't advocate for him. And as the medium says, if you, Dawn, the woman who's getting the reading, had been there, you would have been able to advocate for your husband. Really? Let's just do a little blaming there, right? Let's blame Dawn for not advocating for her husband, for not being there, considering we're in a pandemic and the guy did not get vaccinated. So it was at a point where you could have been vaccinated. He chose not to vaccinate. She's probably not vaccinated. They're not letting her in the hospital, right? So, because we have to protect other people. You make choices, just like Lady Phyllis says, you make choices, you're an adult. And those choices have ramifications, implications. And he chose, and that's that. So I don't remember this reading at all, but I remember vaguely now how pissed off I was when I was watching this and how aggravated I got when I saw it. And she's been doing all kinds of videos on all kinds of subjects. So this is the one that's kind of really made me, you know, hit some nerves with me. You could have been an advocate. Don't blame them. They didn't know. And the other thing, where was it? I made a lot of notes here, so let's see. You could have been his advocate. Oh, oh. Dawn, this motivated sitter said, I had a reading with another psychic who told me that her husband, who's still unnamed, wanted a forensic, what was it? A forensic investigation in his death. I've heard lots of mediums do this. I've heard lots of mediums say, oh, the death wasn't what you thought. There's something else going on, or there were people involved. They do this kind of thing. Thomas John, I've seen him do it many times, and it's really unethical to be alluding to other people being to blame. One time he said it was the guy was in rehab. He was in a rehab facility. He was, really uh, one of these places where the person needs somebody to take care of them all the time because of their past usage of drugs. And the person died. And Thomas John said, you need to get an autopsy on the person because that's not what killed him. It wasn't the drugs. It wasn't that. And they're like, really? And so, what he's doing is he's throwing the facility and all the doctors and nurses under the bus. I've also seen him say that I know your sister died of an overdose. She didn't mean to overdose. Somebody else was responsible. Some friend of hers, some very close friend of hers, somebody was actually responsible. And so these people are going, really? Oh my gosh. So it's wrong to do this kind of thing to probably innocent people. They could say the person who did it, who's responsible, their name starts with the S. It's kind of like Sammy, something like that. And I've seen some of these sitters come up with the name. They're like, oh, that must have been um Samson, or I don't know. I'm just making that up. I know him. He went to high school with my husband, and that must have been who did it. And so now Samson, this random person who might totally be innocent in the whole thing, has now been accused by this medium. Okay, it's just not ethical, right? A forensic evaluation of her husband, who was strong as an ox, who did not, oh, strong as a horse, thank you, who during the middle of a pandemic chose not to get vaccinated and went into the hospital and he was in such bad shape, he had to be intimated, and they want a forensic investigation. Do you have any idea how ridiculous that sounds? Are you trying to say that the hospital just wanted to go through that process and hold up all those other beds while her husband could be there for what she said, 28 days before she could finally see him? For money? Why? I mean, it's just a conspiracy there. We all lived through it. You guys know this. My point is, this is just definitely not ethical. Okay. I don't know what you guys have got in your notes. I think other people are saying this is typical cold reading. It is. I know it's cold reading, you guys, but what exactly is being said? Because that's the thing. When these people get out of their readings, they say they had specific hits. They got names. They knew things there's no one else could have known. But unless we look at these videos and really look at the details of it, we aren't understanding how actually vague it is, or how they're playing with the words, or how this sitter gave up all the information herself. Okay, so let's try this again and go to the next one, because I mean the next part of this thing. Let's see what else happens. We've got 9 more minutes. We're halfway through, but it takes me a little bit. Let's see.
I know.
What?
Actually, there's a nightlight that
Okay.
the bulbs keep burning on it. They keep burning out. And I have to buy like a new light bulb. I have to change light bulbs every 3 months.
Well,
Like,
he's indicating that he's doing that.
oh, is he?
Yeah, he showed me a flickering light. So, he showed me a table lamp with a flickering light, but it's still a flickering light. And if that's burning out, it's a flickering light. Are you in an apartment or in a co-op?
No.
You're on a main level?
I am. What do you mean?
Like
Yeah,
you're
what
in
do
a
you mean?
house on a main level?
We live in a 2-story house, and
A
I'm
two-story
downstairs.
house.
Yes.
I have no idea where you are, but are there snakes where you live?
Yes.
Snake.
Yeah, he says, watch out for a nest of snakes around. Like he says, have the landscaper watch for snakes.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
I have no idea where you are, but he's showing me like a garden hose, but it's really a snake. So watch for snakes in the yard. Okay, so I don't know if you've had a snake infestation, but that's what he's showing me. Um, you're my first. It's usually
Okay.
squirrels, but he did show me that. So uh, and are you having like concrete work done in the front of the house or something? There's like a broken concrete or driveway. Is there something going on where it's broken?
No, no.
Around the
Um,
house for like concrete. He's showing me like an uneven sidewalk or something.
um, we had a flagstone walkway put into the side of the house.
All right.
And so and he wanted the flagstone smaller because he didn't want them to look like big pieces of cardboard.
Well, he's indicating that's what he's showing me is concrete. I wouldn't know flagstone from concrete, but he's showing me. And just watch and make sure that one of them isn't coming up because he's showing me like uneven. So watch those things. He's very often when a husband comes through, they worry about the lawn in the house.
Okay.
So I think he's within character, and he's talking about the car. Did you sell his car?
No, we still have the car.
Okay. But you have your own car.
No, we just had one car.
You have one car, but
Yeah.
did you get rid of a car?
We got rid of a van. The state made us get rid of the van. So
Okay, because he's talking about whatever you did with the car, it was the right decision. So if you got rid of the van, he's happy you kept his, I guess, his car.
okay.
So, you know, he's proud of the way you've handled everything.
Is he really?
Yeah,
That's
yeah, because you've had minutes where you had that like, what do I do? What do I do? And
yeah.
he's really proud of the way you're handling it. He's just take a deep breath and know that he's with you. He's go
How,
ahead.
how do I know he's with me, Phyllis?
There's signs, you know, listen, we all get the same signs, like, you know, how many people see red birds. I put them up on my thing, on Facebook all the time, so people see red and orange and blue birds, because they do come, they're not the birds, but they send the birds, you know, they'll time it. There's a story that I in my class that I put out. There was a woman who was a skeptic, and her sign with her mother was pineapples. I love this TikTok. It was just a beautiful TikTok. And so she says, Mom, I miss you. Send me a sign, but don't make it a regular pineapple because that's too obvious. So she goes about her day. And then at the end of the day, she's walking back into her building, and a new couple had moved into the building. And they just started chatting, like, how are you? Our name is this, our name is that. And the woman says, oh, we're throwing out a suitcase. It's brand new. Would you like it? And she goes, sure. And the woman schleps out a suitcase, and it's covered with pineapples. So,
Wow.
yeah, that's a wow moment. So, the best thing you could do is ask him for a sign, and ask for something. This belongs to everybody. Ask for something that's a little bit unusual. Like I asked for a hummingbird. We don't get in Long Island, you don't get a hummingbird. You don't get them. So I said to my husband, you know, how about a hummingbird? Not 5 minutes later, a hummingbird came whizzing right past me. I couldn't breathe. I probably peed in my pants. I was so excited because you never saw a hummingbird in Long Island before. So if you ask for a sign, they will get. I asked my mother for a red bird, and a cardinal crashed into my garage, and then there was a big fat dead cardinal. I said, Mom, you don't have to do it like that. A feather will do. So the point is, ask for a sign. But he is giving you signs. Is your son interested in racing cars? Is he building cars?
Okay, let's stop with the signs. That's pretty, oh my goodness. Okay, first off, are there hummingbirds in Long Island? Can somebody please let me know if there are hummingbirds in Long Island? Again, she's telling a story. It doesn't mean that it's true. It doesn't mean that 5 minutes later a hummingbird came by. It does not mean that she asked for a red bird and her mom said sent a bird that crashed into the side of the house and died. It doesn't mean that's actually true. It could be something she's just saying, okay? So we're talking about signs now. So is there a light that fizzles in the house, and this woman complains and says, "Yes, I have to change a light bulb every 3 months." Maybe you should get rid of that light fixture. Maybe you should take it in, get it something else, put it in, sounds like it's a potential fire hazard to me. So husband has a flickering light. What's this about snakes? Oh my gosh, what the heck? A garden snake, a garden hose that looks like a snake. You might have a snake nest. Oh yeah, that's great. I'm sure that's not going to freak out this person at all. Do you have a sidewalk that's out in front that's uneven, and then something about the, watch out, make sure one of the pavers isn't quite it's even. So now this woman's going to be outside with looking for snakes, checking out the uneven sidewalk. If she tells people it's because a medium told her that her husband had said to do this, do you think that maybe she's gonna have lasting friendships with people? They're gonna be like, okay, back away from the crazy lady. Let's back away. And then this thing about the car, this really was something else. She says, did you sell his car? She says, no. And she says, we still have it. And she says, oh, but it was his car. And she says, it was our car. It was both our cars. And she goes, oh, but did you sell another car? And she goes, well, we had a van, but we had to sell it because they made us the did she say the state made us sell the van? So she probably had some hoarder van that was rusting in the driveway or something like that, and they made her get rid of it. I don't see how this applies. And then she seems very concerned. How do I know he's with me? Didn't she just tell you? Didn't Phyllis just tell you to watch out for the snakes and the lights flickering? It's your husband doing that. Didn't she just tell you that? I don't know why you still, I mean, why could you be confused? Um, and then she tells a story about a skeptic who was coming to one of her readings. I assure you, there was no real skeptic in the way I would relate to the word skeptic. Ah, so okay, fantastic. This just in. Newsflash, there are no hummingbirds in Long Island, according to research being done in this moment. Very good. Thank you, Michelle. Wow. Good point. Michelle also points out that she probably knows that. She's lived in Long Island for years and years and years and years. She probably knows there's no hummingbirds there, and she uses that as a thing. So I would suspect we may see that story pop up again. Okay, now Michelle, breaking news, breaking news. She was wrong. Google does say that there are hummingbirds in Long Island. Wow, it's like CNN here. I should have a ticker tape at the bottom. No hummingbirds in Long Island. Nope, incorrect. We are willing to admit our mistakes here on Psychics Explained. All right. Anyway, interesting story. All right. And Richard Saunders is telling me um, that there's just tons of questions she's asking, and all these questions, question. It is. There's tons of questions in here. Okay. I want to pause for a second and remind people that when people go to mediums and they say that their loved one is looking over, watching over them, they're sending you signs and so on. What that does is, yeah, it feels good. He's watching over me. I'm not alone here. Heck, I'm in a house right now all alone. My partner recently died. And yeah, sometimes it does get a little spooky here. And so it feels comforting to think that there is somebody watching over me, except I don't think I like the idea of having somebody watching over me. That's just a little kind of creepy. Um, and this woman who has a 14-year-old child, or had a 14-year-old child when her husband died a couple years ago, she's still a very young woman. How is she going to be able to move on in her life? How is she going to find new relationships with new partners, healthy relationships with partners, if she's forever living in the past of her husband watching over her? It's these people keep them in grief. The same thing as I said before about investigations where the psychic will say, no, they didn't die the way they're telling you a story. That's not how she really died. You need to come back for more readings and we'll figure this out for you. That's what the medium is doing. They're trying to keep a hook in you. They're trying to keep you from healing. They're trying to keep you out of real legitimate grief therapy. They're trying to keep you continually coming back and asking more questions to get more information. And so it's a cycle that happens. It's a cycle that happens where people are um, constantly looking at, oh, lost train of thought. That is the cycle they're trying to keep you in. They're not trying to get you to move on quickly or in a reasonable point of time. They're trying to get you to hang on to their clothing. They're trying to keep you to um, keep their shoes under the bed. Don't take all the photos down in the room. Make sure that you're listening to the same old music that you used to listen to whenever he was alive, because he's sending you signs. Look for the birds, look for the feathers, and so on. As I say, that makes it really difficult for somebody to start a new relationship and to be open to finding a new love. So I keep glancing over to the side because I am, for people watching this on YouTube, if you friend me on Facebook, you might find that I do these live on Facebook, and you can give comments, and that's what I'm doing right now. So there are some people watching me as I'm making this go live. Okay, let's go. We could do this. We're getting there. 4 more minutes. This won't be as long as I thought.
Cars? Or
No.
what is involved with your son with a red racing car? Does he have there's something he's showing me like a 14-year-old kid with a kind of a big model car. Does that mean anything to you?
Um, no.
Then I'll leave it because I don't know what it is. But he does come around.
Okay.
Who's the vet for you? Who was in a uniform? Who was in the army?
My husband and my
Yeah.
father-in-law and my grandfather.
Yeah, because your husband, he's in I don't know what branch, but he's in a beige uniform. So to me, that's like Desert Storm or, um, it's not, green, like they come in different colors, the
Uh-huh.
uniform. So I see a beige one, but he's acknowledging that's another thing. Now, also, did you have a dog do you have a dog in the house now?
No.
Did you have a dog that passed?
I had a dog. My husband and I never had a dog together, but I
But
had.
you had a dog, and this dog, you loved the dog. It was like you,
Yes.
and it was very special to you.
Yes.
Was it a big dark dog?
Yes.
Chocolate lab or something?
Yes, it was. It was a big black Labrador Retriever.
Yeah, he's got the dog with him.
Oh, good.
And he's cleaning up the crap from it too. And he says like this. He says you couldn't have gotten a Shih Tzu, you know. So he's got the dog with him. So he doesn't want you to think that he's lonely. He is in with you. Um, do you have a chair that goes in a circle, like like an office chair that spins?
No, we have bar stools that kind of spin.
You have bar stools. Does your
Yes.
son spin on the bar stools?
He moves around on them a lot.
Yeah, because he's showing me a chair that moves like this.
Yeah.
So when you're in that area, he's with you too. That's the only way I could, like, why would he show me a chair that spins, you
I
know,
put the flag from his funeral in his seat where he sat.
in that bar stool?
Yes.
Okay, so there you go. So
Yeah.
that's something you could look for, flags. That's a good one.
Okay.
You know, but discuss it with him tonight when you go to sleep. Say to him, what would be a good sign, you know?
Okay.
And I'm getting a P name like Paul or Patrick.
My son's middle name is Patrick.
Okay, so he's calling out to your son.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, I need another cough drop. Oh my God. A red racing car for your 14-year-old son. So did she just pick something that is very stereotypical? Why didn't she just say a BMX bike? Why didn't you say Playboy magazines? Why didn't I mean teenage angst, So she didn't know anything about it. And I assure you, Dawn will have forgotten all about the red car later when she says there was no way this medium could have known all this stuff unless she was talking to my husband, who is still unnamed, by the way. Who is in the uniform? Now, that is a very, very mediumship trope because somebody's going to have somebody who's in the military. I'm just thinking of a family that is very famous right now that has nobody in their family that's ever been in the military. Anyway, I digress. So, with the exception of that one very famous family who shall remain unnamed at the moment, everybody has somebody who has something in a uniform. Did she go for a uniform or did she say military? Because I wrote down uniform, and that could apply to people who are post office workers, um, bakers, firemen, other people in uniform. I see, I'm listening to this. I have the luxury of being able to write it down. I have the luxury of being able to not be motivated to be in grief listening to this. And even I have forgotten a minute ago if she said who was the person in the military or if she said who's the person who's in a uniform. See how hard it is to do this if you just think you're going to try to remember? Then she says, and then Dawn, the motivated sitter, says, my husband, my dad, my grandfather. I mean, she had to cut her off. There's so many people she would have named that could have been that were in the military. And then she says something about a beige uniform. So she's thinking Desert Storm, which maybe would be the age of her husband. I remember Desert Storm was in my lifetime. I think that was Afghanistan, I think. But so psychics play the odds. They know they're pulling in their life experiences and also previous readings they've given to know what tropes they can come up with. If a person is about this age and then they say that their husband was in the military and judging on their age, then they probably were in Desert Storm, is what I'm trying to say. Do you have a dog in the house? No. Did you ever have a dog that died? My husband and I never had a dog, but I did have a dog whenever I was younger. And she said, did you love your dog? Well, duh. Of course you loved your dog. You loved him very much. Yes, I did. Now, this is a good one. She said, was it a large dog, a big dark dog? And she says, yes, it was a dark uh, lab. So how she got that? Maybe it was just a random guess. Maybe she's playing the odds. I don't know. But well, how many labs are large dogs usually dark? No, not necessarily. I guess if you got one of those woolly kind, they'd be white, like a sheep. Hmm. Oh, if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't hit, it doesn't mean she got it because she saw a dead dog over there with her husband, but she just threw out something and in that moment it stuck. And if it hadn't, she would have said, "Oh, well, it's a small dog, but there is a big dog here for some reason." Or, "Oh, your dog was actually white." Oh, well, this dog I'm seeing is dark. Do you remember that one of your neighbors had a dark dog when you were growing up? Something like that. And this cracks me up. Well, it doesn't really crack me up. It's kind of creepy. So, in the world of mediums, in the heaven they're trying to create, envision this heaven where they've passed on to. And they're able to be there with all these other people throughout time, I guess, throughout history. And all the tasks. And you have to watch the video I recorded a couple nights ago where she talks about how the guy goes golfing and his wife is not happy about it because they're both dead. And I said something about, so they're still together on the other side and they've got all of eternity and she's irritated that he's going golfing and that he's got clubs over there. It's just weird. But the thought of here's your dog, here's her dog. It's her dog. It's a dog that she had before she was married, that she loved, this black Labrador, and it's hanging out with her husband. And he's having to clean up its poop. What kind of heaven is it that you still have to do labor like that? That your dog, the ghost dog, poops, and you have to pick up the ghost poop. Where do you put it? Do they have dumps? Do you compost it? What do you do over there in heaven? In the compost of ghost compost? I mean, I know they're saying this to be comforting, that life is still the same over in the spirit world. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The dog still poops and you still have to clean it up. And she says, he's not lonely. He's letting you know he's not lonely over there because he's got your dog that probably died before I even knew you. There's nobody else to hang out with over there. Go check out what's the latest in Abraham Lincoln's got to say, go hang out with some dead maybe Shakespeare. Why don't you go I bet he's probably very entertaining. Jimi Hendrix. I mean, my gosh. Why would he be lonely when he's got all of history's everybody who's ever died who's should be over there with him? Why would you be lonely? I don't get. Okay, now here's some things that kind of a chair that goes in a circle. I'm sitting in a chair. Yeah, why? Thank you, Michelle. Why would you have to clean up after a dog in heaven? That's what I want to know. And Richard says she relies on the answers given to her on many questions. She does. She throws out something. If it hits, then she goes runs with it. If she throws out something and it doesn't hit, she either uh, switches to a new topic, or the motivated sitter gives her an answer that allows her to go down that path. And you see her doing this over and over again. I'm in a chair that spins. I don't sit here and spin in it. I think almost anybody who's got an office of sort, she's on a computer right now, so there's probably an office chair of some sort in that house that spins. It's just more comfortable, right? So a chair that spins is kind of a obvious, but why would her husband mention a chair that spins? That seems odd. So then she gets into the bar stools that spin. And then she says, does your 14-year-old, who's a 14-year-old, does he spin around in the chair? And then finally the woman reveals that she has the flag, the military flag that was given to her when her husband died, and it's sitting in the chair. It's been a few years already, a couple years at least. A year and a half, maybe, I don't know. She says, know that when you're near that chair and that flag, he's with you. So let's think about this again. How far in grief is this woman at that she has taken the flag that the husband, the military flag, and she has it in a chair. Now that chair is now unusable in the household because that's her still unnamed husband's chair. So that's there. Now also think of this other idea. Can she move? How do you move? How do you move to another location? She's stuck. And that's where the mediums like them. They like them stuck like that because she's going to say, I can't leave because this is where I'm closest to my husband. Heck, I can stand right there where the chair spins around and I can't, and that's where I feel closest to him. And it's a psychological effect. I'm sure she's going to feel close to him there. She can't move on. You just can't move, actually physically get up, move all your stuff and put it and take it and go somewhere because of so many memories there. And not only memories, but he's still here. He's sitting there flickering the light. He's having a good laugh every time you have to go buy a new light bulb. And he's checking out the garden for snakes and telling people to be careful not to trip on the sidewalk. How do you move? How do you bring another man into your life? I assume it'd be a man in this case because she was married to a man. How do you bring another person into your life? How do you have another relationship when you be like, yeah, I love you, dear. You're wonderful and everything, but you can't sit in that chair because that's my ex-husband's chair. No, no, you can't change out that light because he's sending me signs every time he flicks the light. Do you see what I'm saying? It's really hard to move on with your life when you know that you have these things hanging over you and you can't necessarily get past that. You're stuck. And as I say, the mediums want you to remain stuck because as long as you're stuck, you're going to get readings. When you start going and having new relationships and having a happy life and go out and do new things, move around, whatever, you don't need the mediums as much anymore. What is it they call it? Job security for psychics to keep you stuck. Okay, a minute 37 seconds. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm gonna have to do these on Facebook more often. I feel like I'm moving through these a lot faster. It might have been 5 hours, but it feels like I'm getting a lot faster now. Okay, let's go to the very last thing and see what she's got in store for her. There'll probably be a lot of platitudes, but let's see if she finally gets something specific besides the dog.
It's whatever I could hear. It's like hearing it underwater. But He's acknowledging his son, and he's very proud of his son.
Oh, that's good.
Okay?
Good.
Does your son chew on his pens?
Yes.
He says, "Stop it. Just stop it." Okay?
I'll be sure to tell him that.
Yeah, because he's showing me, it's making me nauseous. He's chewing, when they chew on the pen, makes me nauseous. So he's showing me, he puts the pen, like if it's one of those pens that come apart, he
Yep.
puts the thing on his finger and he
Yep.
puts on it. And he says, "Just stop it." He doesn't want him to do that.
Okay.
All right? I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. And I just have one question. I know everybody else is waiting. Another psychic told me that my husband is sending a new man into my life.
Ooh.
Can you ask him if that's true?
Well, he didn't say it's not true. I think he's sending you lots of choice, a smorgasbord to pick from. He says, "Just pick a good one."
Really?
Yeah, pick a good one. And he has no problem with it. He's yours, you're his. You will be forever with
It,
each other.
would he be okay if I wouldn't be with somebody?
He would rather you have companionship. Nobody should be alone. But if that's your choice to be alone, that's okay too.
Thank you, Phyllis. And thank you, everybody, for waiting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, well, that was very interesting. That was very interesting. I forgot about the Patrick, another very common name. And she says that's her son's middle name. He does, I guess her husband has forgotten her son's real first name, or maybe he just threw out a nice um Suarachi wants us to start letting people practice their cold reading skills. It's not much of a skill if you're just throwing out crap. And you just have to have somebody who wants to agree and one really wants to believe what you're saying. Okay. Patrick, middle name. We still do not know the husband's name. We still do not know the son's first name. So those are all missing. He chews on a pen. Okay. He wants him to stop it. How annoying. Dad's haunting me from beyond the grave. And she wants to know about a new man in her life. So she's going to go to a psychic to get approval that a new man could come into her life. And the husband he really doesn't care. He just wants you to pick a good one. Uh-uh. What man is going to want to come into your household and he's got to move aside all that stuff that you've got of your husband's? Oh, don't sit in that chair. No, don't fix that light. That's how, I mean, come on. So, yeah, and we never heard the dog's name, right? So what is missing? And that's kind of my thing. What is actually missing? This woman is going to leave this reading. She goes to mediums often. She says she's had other mediumship readings and takes their word seriously, takes their advice. What she's going to leave feeling like there was so much specificity to Lady Phyllis's reading, isn't she? And imagine this man when he has time and he's not cleaning up the dog crap when he's not doing that. I mean, do they still have to carry bags around with them and they have little litter bins and stuff like that? And does somebody have to come along and empty them in heaven? Goodness gracious. Do here's husband. Here's her husband. He's come from beyond the grave to have a conversation with his wife, Dawn. Here he is. He's finally got a chance to talk to her. What does he have to say to her? That if she had been there, she could have advocated for his health and he would probably be better. But don't worry, I don't blame you for that. It's not your fault. He doesn't say anything about I should have been vaccinated. He's been trying to get her attention by flickering lights. He wants to warn her of snakes in the front yard. And oh, there's that loose piece of concrete or something out there. You better watch out for that flagstone. I'm glad you sold the van. keeping in mind that the van was sold when he was still alive. She says it in whenever she said we had to sell the van. And then the words she used were something about, made it sound like it was farther back in time. So Lady Phyllis misheard her, I think, and made it sound like they sold the van recently. They had to sell it because the state told them they had to sell it. Probably just where they were keeping all the snakes. So the husband's here. He can't even send his son a racing car, a red racing car. He doesn't name the dog. He doesn't talk about okay. All he's doing is he's like, honey, I love you. I've just been busy flickering the light on and off and cleaning up your dog, who I never knew, is crap. And it's big. It's a big dog, big crap. And you got to have our son, who I've forgotten his first name, his middle name is Patrick. Well, he never said Patrick is the middle name of my son. He just said Patrick, and she said that's the middle name of our son. He needs to stop spinning in the chairs. He needs to stop chewing on the pins. And I'm fine with you bringing other men over here. Just don't take my little flag out of the spinny chair, the bar chair in the dining room. Really? That's the best? That's it. He doesn't have any really good advice for her, like maybe get vaccinated. Maybe don't go to mediums all the time because she should be able to make these life decisions for herself. I don't know. This is a long reading. There's a lot in there. Really, it is. But I tell you, this is typical. People don't believe me, I swear. They think that what a typical reading is going on is the stuff you see on TV. That's not typical, and those are heavily edited. This is the kind of stuff that's going on. You've got, it feels like a one-on-one relationship. She spent 19 minutes with this woman. It's a one-on-one, very intimate. She's looking at her around her house. She's taking a good look at the woman. And it's, goes on and on and on. So you feel like you're developing a personal relationship with this medium so that you go back to him. Thank you guys for being here with me. That really made me feel better doing these. I'm going to have to do more of these on Facebook and then put them up on YouTube. And then if you're on YouTube and you're watching this video, please, please, please leave me comments, like and share the video. I'm going through a whole series of readings with Lady Phyllis. I've called it Operation Dill Pickle. And these readings are already being collected on a playlist on my channel, Psychics Explain. And they are all different kinds of readings. And as you watch them, you can see she has a standard kind of thing she gives. And if you watch them, you'll see the reading with me, where she reads me, and how hilarious that is. She doesn't know it's me. I have my screen off and I'm wearing a mouth guard. So she can't, because there's a woman who's in this reading with Lady Phyllis named Tracy. And Tracy is the person who's letting people in the room, and she's kind of like managing the chat and all that kind of stuff. And Tracy knows me very well because she was like this, very close to Thomas John for several years. Somehow or other, something happened. They had a falling out, but she knows damn well who I am. So when I went to this gallery reading, I didn't know Lady Phyllis, and Lady Phyllis, I don't think, knew me. So I couldn't appear on the camera, and I had to wear the mouth guard to cover up my voice because Tracy was there. So when you listen to that reading, you'll see it. It's on my channel. I think it's hilarious because it was the last reading of the day, hour two. I was just kind of punch drunk. I was just goofing on her. It was stupid. It was just funny. Make sure you check that out. Thank you, Michelle. Yes, you're in New York. That makes it really hard. But thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you being here. Yeah. Oh, and Randy says that if the son is chewing on a pin, it's because his wisdom teeth haven't come out yet, and they're probably starting to bug him. But no, Dad didn't want to tell us that. He's saying he could have said, you know, the our son, who I've temporarily forgotten his first name, but his middle name is Patrick, is probably having problems with his wisdom teeth, and he needs to get that looked into. That's advice, but no, not advice. Sue says, oh my God, I gotta hang up now. Sue says, heaven must have a special sewage network that drains the dog poo down to the hell. Oh, I'm gonna have to do more of these Facebook related. This is hilarious. I do. I feel like I'm not doing this by myself. And I've probably got an hour and a half more of readings to get through somehow. And I've got to get them all done so that I can write the article up, a synopsis of all the readings about Lady Phyllis and what I've learned about Lady Phyllis since doing research on her and everything. But anyway, please like and share the video. Please leave me more comments. Um, Randy's saying, yeah, he should have known his son needed to go see the dentist and get those wisdom teeth taken out. They're probably starting to come out and they're bugging him. All right. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your help. I'll see you again, I hope. Go to the video, leave comments there on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe and share. I really would appreciate it. And hit the little bell so you know when I'm uploading a new video.